I worked with a business owner a while back who mistook busyness for business. He was brilliant at hustling, winning new clients, developing new products, and chasing opportunities, always in motion. But he never stepped back to actually look at his business. And I'll tell you what happened to him in a moment. But first, I want you to think about something. If you stepped away from your business tomorrow, really stepped away, what's the first thing that would break? Hold that thought. Because this owner I'm talking about, the same problems kept coming up again and again because he never solved them at the root cause. He'd fix the symptom and move on. His revenue was vulnerable, put out to a competitive bid every 12 months. He was too busy to build a recurring income stream. His staff didn't have clear goals or KPIs, so they ran rings around him. They'd always had an answer for why things weren't done. We're too busy, they would say. But here's the thing they learnt from him. He was always too busy. His advisors, including me, kept recommending changes, but he was too busy to make them happen. Years later, he's still in the same place. The business didn't grow. The value didn't build in his business. And his staff were burnt out. His advisors were burnt out. The business was running him. He's not unusual. I see this pattern all the time. So today I want to talk about something most business owners don't realize is an option. Exiting your business without actually leaving your business. I'm Rowena Frith and I work with business owners, particularly those over 50 who want freedom, not just success. When business owners hear the word exit, they usually picture one thing: selling. But there's actually two exits. Exit one is exiting from your role, your day-to-day. You step back from daily operations, but you keep ownership. You become the owner, not the operator. The business keeps paying you, but it stops consuming you. Exit two is you exit the ownership and you sell. You sell the business and move on completely. Now, here's what most people don't realize. This is an important step. Exit one often makes exit two easier and more valuable. A business that runs without you is worth more than one that depends on you. But today, I want to focus on exit one, because for many owners, especially those over 50, this is a real goal. Not selling tomorrow, just breathing room. Let me ask you, if you exited your business operations and had much of the day-to-day to yourself, what would you do with your time? I know what I wanted. I wanted to go to a coffee shop and sit quietly with a coffee and think about nothing. Not writing to-do lists, not answering emails on my phone, just quiet and thinking about that. Not writing to-do lists, not answering emails on my phone, just quiet. And when that day finally came, I could finally allow myself to think about what I wanted to do with my life next, for me, not for the business. But getting there, that required a shift. There's a distinction that changed how I think about this. A business that thrives on you means you are the engine. Every decision, every key relationship, every problem flows through you. If you step away from things and they wobble and worse, you might be successful, but you're also trapped. A business that thrives with you is different. It runs smoothly when you're not there. When you are there, you add value, but when you're not, it doesn't fall apart. The goal isn't to become irrelevant. It's to become optional. Remember that owner I mentioned? His team was too busy because he was too busy. He set the culture without realizing it. And I've seen this with other businesses too. I've worked with one owner who wanted her team to be more consistent, to have regular planning meetings, to follow through on commitments. But she wasn't consistent herself. She'd skip meetings, change priorities, and not follow through on her own processes. And then she wondered why her team wasn't consistent. You do have to walk the talk. The owner sets the pattern, and whether they mean to or not, most owners have built businesses that thrive on them. Not because they're control freaks, but because that's how small businesses naturally evolve. That's how you've grown. You were the most capable person in the room, so you took on more. The question is, how do you shift from being on to with? That's what we're going to get to. And from what I've seen in my own business and working with others, there are 3 reasons why owners stay trapped. First, you're the bottleneck for decisions. Everything comes back to you. Approvals, exceptions, quick questions that eat your whole day. You've centralized authority without realizing it. And by the way, there's a specific framework for fixing this that I cover in another video. I'll link to that in a moment. Second is knowledge lives in your head. Customer history, supplier relationships, how things actually work, it's all in your brain. No one else can access it. And if they can't access it, they can't act on it. And third, you haven't designed roles. You've accumulated tasks. Your team's jobs evolved organically. No one has a clear ownership. So when problems arise, they default to you. And the result? You're not leading, you're firefighting. And here's the irony. The harder you work, the more dependent the business becomes on you working hard. That's not building an asset. That's building a job you can never leave. Earlier in my career, I spent years doing due diligence on company acquisitions for a large company. We looked at dozens of businesses, and I'll tell you, it was very easy to see the difference between a business that's been dressed up for sale and with one that's genuinely has good systems. The tells are obvious when you know what to look for. You can see it in small things, like bookkeeping costs. If they're paying a lot for bookkeeping or accounting services, but don't have that many transactions, it usually means they're sorting out a lot of issues. The processes aren't right. We'd follow the money trail and interview people along that trail and see what the data looked like, how many handoffs there were, and how much human intervention was required. You can quickly tell if processes aren't well defined or chaotic. Here's the principle I took from that. Unless you're highly automated, complexity equals chaos. We'd also look at customer concentration. What's the spread? Who owns the relationships? If one person owns all the key relationships, well, that's a risk. Now I share this not because you're selling tomorrow, but because this is exactly what makes a business run without you. The same things buyers look for are the same things that give you freedom. So how do you actually shift from being on to with? You need to build on 2 fronts. First, the foundation. This is about people. It starts with you. Are you leading from clarity or chaos? Business owners don't burn out from falling short. They burn out from holding everything up. Then there's vision. Does your team actually know where you're going and why it matters? And roles. Not just job descriptions, but real clarity. What problems does that person solve? What decisions can they make without coming to you? And second, operations. This is the real process. Repeatable systems, documented, delegated, not held together with sticky tape. Clear decision rights. Who decides what? Push the authority out to your team wherever possible. I go deep on this in my 5 systems video. I'll link to it right here and in the description. It's a framework for something you can implement this week. And accountability rhythms. Regular check-ins, dashboards, metrics that people actually use. Here's the key. Foundation without operations means good intentions, but no execution. Operations without foundations means efficient chaos. You need both. Let me tell you what this looked like for me. I built an online consumer products business, the Saltbox, while I was still working full time, which meant I didn't have the luxury of being the bottleneck. So I leaned into technology from the start, a fully integrated website connected to other sales channels like Amazon and eBay, which fed into an ERP system for inventory and management and distribution. I designed simple processes that either happen automatically or could be easily batched, like placing inventory orders or entering wholesale orders. And then I outsourced the shipping to a 3PL. That was a big one for letting go. Letting go of distribution and shipping was a huge relief for me. Suddenly, I could focus on growth instead of the daily grind of packing boxes, which, let's be honest, is a low-value activity for an owner. But, it wasn't entirely hands-off in the first instance. There were always questions coming from the 3PL. You can't easily hand off 100% of responsibility. What I learned from this is that when you outsource a process, whether it's distribution or bookkeeping or something else, you need to allow time up front to troubleshoot issues, to lay those foundations, to find root cause problems and fix them properly, and bed down the process. For me, it took about 6 months before things were truly running smoothly. But once it was, well, the weight was off my shoulders for real. I had time back, I had mental space, and the business kept running. I mentioned earlier that I tell you about the moment these things changed for me. The need to change had been brewing in my mind for a while. The daily grind was getting hard, and I knew that to grow, something would have to shift. But it became very clear when I received a cancer diagnosis. Suddenly, I need to make time for treatment. I need to prioritize myself. And the business, well, it kept running because I'd already built it into something that would run without me. Not perfectly, but well enough. And that coffee shop moment I mentioned, it happened. I sat there with no to-do list and no phone buzzing, and I finally had the space to think about what I wanted for my life. Not what the business needed, but what I needed. And that experience taught me something I now share with every business owner I work with. You shouldn't have to wait for a crisis to build a business that doesn't depend entirely on you. So where do you start? Here's a simple test. Could you take 30 days away from your business, no calls, no emails, no just checking in, and come back to find it running? If the answer is no, that's not failure. That's just normal, and it's where most business owners are. But it tells you haven't exited the business yet. So what changes can you make? Pick one thing, one decision you'll stop making for yourself, one process, and you'll document this week, and one role you'll clarify with real decision rights for your team. You don't need to transform everything overnight. You need to start shifting from on to with. Small moves, repeated, compound into freedom. Exiting without leaving isn't about checking out. It's about building a business that thrives with you, not one that traps you. Whether you eventually sell or simply step back and enjoy your asset that you've built, this is the work that makes both possible. If this resonated, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me what's the first thing that would break if you stepped away from your business for 30 days. Let's talk about it. And if you haven't already, subscribe. I share practical strategies every week for business owners who want freedom, not just success. If you want to go deeper on decision rights and the 5 systems that reduce owner dependency straight away, check out the video I've linked here. And remember, look after yourself, not just your business. See you in the next one.